All right. I need to put, let's go to our board here. I got to put some freaking nasal spray in my goddamn nose because I can't breathe at all. Joined now by the ají to my empanada, the arequipe to my pan. Oh, the queso fresco or whatever it is to my chocolate. Here he is, the one and only. ¿Cómo se dice rain in Espanol?
Lluvia.
Yeah, you're that to my Bogota. All right, Danny Segura is here. Danny, how are you, sir?
Doing well. You?
Did you enjoy your weekend with no MMA?
Yeah, it's nice. It's always nice to get a little break from MMA, but the news was busy.
It was pretty busy, wasn't it?
Wasn't much of a break.
By the way, how Colombian is this freaking studio? We've got the hummus thing.
I know.
We've got the thing and then the other thing. I just keep saying the word thing like it's going out of style. All right, how were the calls today, sir?
Probably the best batch of calls we've ever gotten. We got a ridiculous.
Let me say one thing.
They're still coming in.
Yeah, let me say the one thing. You got excoriated and I got excoriated because you put the best question at the last time. Like, what's the moral case for potentially using PEDs in sports? Yeah. And you put it last, and everyone was like, "Oh my God, that's the one we wanted first." So don't you be tripping me up with the order of these questions.
You just got to go with what you're feeling.
All right.
So that was that.
All right, let's hear it. What do you got?
All right. Well, Jon Jones versus Anthony Smith seems to be the biggest topic. There's tons of topics, but that's one of the big things that's going on in the news. So let's discuss that.
All right.
Hello, Luke and Danny. My name is Dente from Texas, and am I the only one that finds Jones versus Smith matchup boring? I've seen enough Jones title defenses, and no one in division interests me except Reyes, Santos, and potentially Rockhold to face Jones. I'd much rather see him go to heavyweight and face JDS. What are your thoughts?
Ooh. Here's the point I made. I made it to Mike Winklejohn as well. Yeah. Anthony Smith, I mean, I'm not saying it's this incredibly overwhelming case, but it's a pretty clear case that he's your top guy. Yeah. If your champion is active and he's giving opportunities to top contenders, that is the way that divisions are supposed to run. I am not going to get in the way of that. Whether or not you think they have a really great chance is kind of irrelevant. That's how divisions become divisions, through this natural process and this natural order. Count me in favor. Because, by the way, Anthony Smith has no chance. Really? Did Matt Serra have a chance against GSP? This is a sport of craziness. Give opportunities to the deserved.
Couldn't agree more. I've been saying this. I feel like we've entered an era, and maybe this caller probably goes under that classification, but we've entered an era where all we want to see is super fights. All we want to see is fun fights. But how about we just get the title, defenses going? Like, that's how Anderson Silva became Anderson Silva. Just defending the title, Demetrius Johnson, GSP, right? It was never always like, who's at 155 or who's at 170? Let's see what we can do as far as super fights go. Let's just get the title defended. I'm kind of sick of the super fights a little bit. I don't know if you are. I don't want to see Jon Jones go to heavyweight, at least not anytime soon. Let the light heavyweight title get defended. Let's get contenders, fighting for the title. And then if super fights come up, good. But if not, let's just get the title defended.
Agreed. Keep them in rotation. Keep them busy. Yeah. Love it.
And it just seems like everything's stuck, right?
Yeah.
With Jon Jones coming back, it's so refreshing just knowing that the title's going to get defended again.
Yeah. Keep telling me him being around is bad for the sport. Keep telling me that. I swear it'll come true one day. I promise.
It's exciting having him around, regardless of
it's great.
The controversy.
It's great.
Yeah. All right. Well, that question brings us to another question, which is Jon Jones' eligibility to fight in Nevada, right?
Hey, Luke, this is Darian calling from Dallas, Texas. How about them Cowboys, by the way?
Fuck the Cowboys.
My question is, why do you think the UFC is so quick to rebook Jon Jones in Nevada, considering what just happened with UFC 232? Is it to curry favor with the commission, or do you think it is to put pressure on them to get him reinstated as fast as possible? Thank you.
I don't think it has anything to do with the commission. I think it's got everything to do with the fact that they owe contractually T-Mobile a certain amount of shows. Certainly as a return to the fans who could be nearby. Look, they took a show from Nevada. Yeah. The least you could do is put one back, right? And what I mean by put one back is they weren't expecting Jones to be back. Now he's back. He wants to go in there. He has to get cleared. We'll see what happens. But yes, I think it's to get rid of that issue ostensibly, and then go back where you were supposed to go, fight where you were supposed to fight, draw at the gate, put another title fight on there, and put on a decent show. Yeah, I think it has everything to do with giving back to that state and the various people involved, whether it's commission or fans or a combination of both.
Yeah, they definitely owe Nevada a big fight. And, they took away Jon Jones while they're bringing him back. Hopefully he gets cleared, but there's definitely an issue there. And, hey, even if he doesn't, Tyron Woodley could easily headline that card, and the card underneath is really good. They're stacking it up.
Yeah.
So I think there's a contingency plan there in case, I don't know, things go wrong with Jon Jones or, the whole process gets, prolonged.
Yep.
But, yeah, pretty good card. All right, well, let's go to the welterweight division. We just had Colby on, so let's talk about.
He was interesting, huh?
Very interesting. He's always sort of in the side of Dana in the UFC.
Yeah, not this time.
Not this time. Quite the opposite. I was surprised to hear him say the things that he said.
Yeah.
Hey, Danny. Hey, Luke. Jay calling from Orange County. Two-part question. The UFC recently booked Tyron Woodley versus Kamaru Usman at UFC 235. Do you think they dropped the Woodley-Covington fight because of the UFC 229 pre-fight hype and the post-fight brawl and everything that went down with that? Also, do you think that they had no need for Woodley-Covington anymore since the return of Jon Jones, something they didn't have until a couple months ago? Anyways, thanks for taking my call, and later, donks.
We are dunks. So it seems pretty clear that the issue was that, Colby wasn't playing ball with the UFC, didn't want to accept any other fights than a title shot. The UFC didn't really like that. Yep. And then on the opposite end, you have, Usman, who was a replacement opponent for the Till Woodley fight. Yep. And he's just been fighting everyone that, Argentina. He's been going anywhere they tell him to go.
Chile, right?
Yeah, Chile.
So I think to get to the point, why did they do it? Well, having Jones as your headliner enables you to have some flexibility with your co-main event. Yeah. And whether Colby's theory is that Kamaru's manager they owed him favors or something. I don't know anything about that, but that's his story. Ariel's reporting that it was because, hey, look, this guy was saying, I'm only going to fight one guy and that's it. And Kamaru's like, dude, I'll do whatever you want. That seems pretty plausible, to be quite honest with you. So there's that theory as well. Whatever the case was, the return of Jon Jones does give them some flexibility one way or the other with this one. So whatever theory you want to buy into. What was the other part of the question? I forget.
Basically, why that fight is happening and not Colby.
Oh, yeah. And as for that one, beyond it, I just feel like the UFC really values people that say yes to them a lot. Hey, can you take this fight on short notice? Yes. Can you be there and make weight? Yes. Can you do this on this? Can you accommodate this ferocious schedule that we have? To the extent that you say yes to that, I think they over time. And by the way, here's the other thing that's a lesson, that winning that belt, it's not that ranking doesn't matter. Yep. It does. However, you being number one matters for the moment you get it, and then there's a short window in which being one matters. At some point, it no longer holds the same relevancy. In other words, when you're hot as a stock, think about stocks rising and falling. If your stock is rising and then you hit one, that's that coinciding moment where you can do a lot with it. But if you've held one and then other ones are moving around you and you're just sitting there, they'll pass you by because, yes, Jon being back enables you to have some flexibility in that co-main event, but Jon being back 2-3 more times the year enables him to say, yeah, we don't necessarily need the Colby versus Woodley fight. I think that would be a good one to make, but yeah, it gives him some flexibility.
And in a way, I think this caller made a pretty good point with the whole UFC 229 incident. There's been a lot of controversy. The UFC has gone under a lot of controversy lately with, Jon Jones' drug test, the whole UFC 229 stuff.
Yeah.
My guess is that the Woodley-Covington fight would bring some controversy as well. And it'd be nice to get just two guys that are in it for the competition rather than, have the fight be about some outside stuff as well. And I think also Jon Jones, I think, he's also a bit of a wild card, although I feel like the Anthony Smith fight is a lot more chill, if that makes sense, than, say, like a DC rivalry or anything like that.
Yeah, but hold on, I don't buy the theory that they're doing this to protect themselves against an ugly fight buildup.
No, I don't think that's entirely the option, but I don't think that's entirely the look, but I think that's definitely something they might think about. It's less of a headache, less of a, stress, I guess.
I don't know. I don't buy that. I think they like that kind of thing.
All right, well, let's talk about Colby and what he does next from here.
All right.
Hi, Luke and Danny. This is Jerry from Sacramento, California.
Sacktown.
My question is, being that Woodley and Usman is all but official, what's next for Covington? Thanks for taking my call. Saludos.
Saludos. So we heard him here on the show. Looks like he's going to stick to his guns and wait for that title shot. You know who else did that and then eventually it worked out for him? Tyron Woodley.
Yep. Boy, Tyron Woodley, you remember that back and forth he had with Usman last week?
Yeah.
Like nothing signed, you're playing yourself. He resists these guys, and he ends up fighting all of them. And like I say it as a credit to him because, dude, he's fighting tough guys over and over again. But he always has this weird, like, it's done when I say it's done thing, which is true. That is true. But he ends up fighting him anyway. I don't quite get it, but all right, this is kind of funny.
Yeah. I feel like that's also why fans, or probably some fans, don't really like Woodley all that much, because the whole thing is like, whoa, he refuses to fight people a lot. He's fighting everyone, but he does go out there in the media. He does go out there on social media and
say no.
And I feel like that's what stays with fans. But if you look at the facts, the man's active and the man's fighting the top.
If you just looked at his record, you'd be like, God damn, it's just everything else.
Yeah. So what's next for Colby? I mean, do you really think he'll sit out
for a while? Yeah, he's gonna want to see, but it's dumb, man. Not dumb. That's not true. Let me take that back. I recant. It's not dumb, but I do think it's questionable because, like Diaz sitting out. It's like I understand Diaz. I'm talking about Nate. I understand Nate Diaz wanting to sit out because why would I take a fight where I have so much to lose and very little to gain? But at some point, yes, absence does make the heart grow fonder, but you're losing valuable time in which to make money as well.
Yeah,
and I don't know. I get that sitting out makes sense, but sitting out for a prolonged period does not. People forget about you and they move on.
Yeah. I mean, who else is out there? Ponzinibbio, or as far as contenders that he can fight as a #1 contender spot?
Who? Colby?
Yeah.
Yeah, that. I mean, again, you get the winner of Woodley versus Usman is another one. Yeah, I don't know.
Also, don't forget, Robbie Lawler and Askren are fighting. Who knows what happens there? If Lawler gets a good win.
Yep.
He might jump the line. Who knows?
That guy, Ben Askren versus Colby Covington would be phenomenal.
That would be fun, too. Yeah. All right, let's talk about another fight on that card as well. Pretty good fight. Interesting one.
All right.
Good morning, fellas. This is Charles Jalen Ware calling out of the ATL.
I
just read yesterday that Cody Garbrandt is set to finally return at UFC 235. Is it smart for him, career-wise, to remain in the same division where he just got TKO in back-to-back losses to the current champion? Most careers are never the same after that. And how can he, rebound from that? Or can he rebound from that? History tells us most fighters are never, ever the same after that happens. Thanks for taking my call. God bless, fellas.
So
I'm not sure that's entirely true.
Garbrandt fighting Munoz.
Yeah, I love it. I don't have any problem. I'm not saying it. Yeah, well, I'm not saying, let me think about the very best fight I could make at this point. I think it's a very good fight for Garbrandt. If Garbrandt's not, yes, of course. If Garbrandt's not careful, it could be a bad fight for him because Munoz, for folks who don't know this, Munoz has the best guillotines maybe in MMA.
Yeah.
His guillotine series and setups from front headlock, he can get guillotines from the back.
Yeah.
People don't realize that. He'll try and take your back and put that one hook in against the fence and then switch to a guillotine. He's amazing. He's amazing with that. So you got to be careful with that guy. Yeah. Don't misunderstand me. This is not a walk in the park, but I think it's a very winnable fight for him. We'll see what happens with flyweight. Remember, he was less than Demetrius Johnson on the same time they had the same fight night in terms of their fight night weight. So he can go back down there. And I just feel like, dude, what is he supposed to do? Mope forever? He lost. It was terrible. Everyone knows that. But he checked out for a bit. Seems like he's ready to check back in. This is as good of a fight as any to check back in. I love it. I think it's great.
Yeah. I think it's a good fight. It's an exciting one for sure, but I do think it's a bit risky for him. Munoz is no joke, man. He's a top contender, but it is a good situation in the sense that he wins. He's already relevant. He can be one fight away from a title shot, depending on how things go. But I was a bit surprised, keeping in mind that he weighed about just as much as Demetrius Johnson did. After weigh-ins, I'm surprised he's not dropping a flyweight. I mean, it seems to me that flyweight for last month we were like, okay, flyweight's gone. 2019, it's going to be over. But I feel like the UFC hasn't really closed the book on flyweight. I feel like they're waiting to see what happens with Cejudo and Dillashaw. Also, you got Joe B out there campaigning, to continue the division. I feel like there might be something there. And if Garbrandt, he's a big name, goes down to flyweight, we know he could probably make flyweight and make big waves there. He could probably keep that division around, don't you think?
Yeah, but you got to figure out if flyweights going to be around.
Yeah.
And if, by the way, if TJ wins the title down
well, that's
there,
the gambles you got to take now before they pull the plug on it, if they do.
Well, I mean, why make preparations to drop to a weight class if you don't know it's going to be there?
But I mean, if you can make it and maybe switch, the UFC's mind on the flyweight, and then you be that guy, I feel like there's value there.
I don't know. I mean, I think he would look for some kind of assurance that it's going to be there before he would put that on his body. By the way, did you see that video that came out of TJ Dillashaw?
I didn't see a video, but I've been seeing
the stills. He looks thin. I'll put it that way. He looks thin.
And I've said it for like a while since we've been talking about DJ and Dillashaw for a while. Now it's all easy with Cejudo, but dude, 10 extra pounds at that weight. It's not like it's from 205 to 195 or something. It's already from 135 to 125. Those pounds get they get tough, man.
It's nearly 10%.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a lot.
And, I mean, we're how many weeks? 2-3 weeks?
Yeah.
And he's already looking
2 weeks.
Quite thin. Yeah.
Yeah. Here in Brooklyn.
Yep.
Your neck of the woods.
Yeah. We'll see how that goes.
Brooklyn.
Yeah. BK.
All right, next.
All right, let's now turn the clock a little bit and talk about some stuff still pending from UFC 232. Talk about Cyborg.
Good.
This is Bert from Philly, and I'd like to know where Cyborg goes from here, considering that I believe she only has one fight left on her contract anyway, and I don't think Dana would want her to possibly get the belt back and then leave. And also, given that she probably doesn't really know how to improve from here because she hasn't had to change her game very much. Thanks a lot.
Correct me if I'm wrong. That was the last fight on her contract.
From what I've read, I think she's got one more.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I could have sworn that was the last one.
That's the reports that I've read.
All right. Well, to be honest, I have not looked into it, so I cannot.
Let's assume she's got one more fight. Do you think she gets a rematch, or where does she go?
Yeah, we had Conan Silveira on the show last week, and he was like, "Why would she get an immediate rematch?" Which is the right thing for a coach to say.
Yeah.
I just don't. I cannot fathom any other scenario other than that one. Unless there's some kind of injury to Amanda. That's the only way. How on earth do you make any other fight in that division with her? And he talks about her skill set. I don't think her skill set is the problem. In other words, even if she fights again and maximizes her skill set, she could lose. But she didn't even come close to maximizing it. She just brawled.
Yeah.
Did you see Cyborg's video that she pulled out with Clarissa Shields, the Olympian, coming back? You're like, why did you brawl with her? Why weren't you just jabbing with her?
Yeah.
Even then, she might lose, but that will be a much better estimation of how far she can go.
Right.
She didn't even come close. So to me, it's tactics and strategies, not abilities.
Right. There's still questions around that matchup. It's not like, we saw, Cyborg get outboxed for 5 rounds or anything like that. The whole plan, and Amanda Nunes said this, the whole plan was to get her crazy, was to hit her hard and get her, get her fired up, and it was effective. But interesting. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe, Amanda goes and defends the 135 belt, and then in the meantime, maybe they do Cyborg versus Megan Anderson. And then the winner of that gets a crack at 145. I don't know. I also feel like this is a very similar situation to TJ dropping down in the sense that it could also kill the division if they decide they don't want to be in the Cyborg business anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, are they really going to keep 145? I have a hard time seeing that.
Yeah, your guess is as good as mine. I mean, I guess there's another way to go, but given the ability where you finally have a chance to promote Amanda Nunes, why you wouldn't do that with a second Cyborg fight feels to me like, again, promotional malpractice. Good sir. Take that one home with you.
We got one more? Or?
Yeah, let's do one more, and then I'll run like an effing maniac uptown.
Cool. I know you touched a little bit on this, but let's talk about, this was also in the headlines. Pettis Thompson. Weird matchup.
What's up, Luke? My name is Christopher Black, and I'm calling from Sturgeon Bay, Wisconsin. My question is a simple one. What do you guys think about Anthony Pettis calling out Stephen Wonderboy Thompson? He's a big boy, and Anthony's coming off a loss. So what does that look like? Thanks, guys.
Are you about it? First of all, are you about that fight?
I didn't give it much thought, and I guess the answer is yes.
Really?
Sure. Like I don't feel strongly about it one way or the other. People are like, "Oh my god, I hate it," or "Oh my god, I love it." I'm sort of in the middle. I don't hate it. I don't love it. I'm fairly neutral about it. It seems somewhat intriguing. Here's the thing I've noticed about jumping weight classes. There's often reminders. You see people do it, and you're like, oh, right, that's why there's weight classes, right? But the one sort of equalizing factor that I don't think we really appreciate enough is like, why is jumping weight class so hard in boxing? Because offensive power is muted by the size of the glove relative to MMA. So in MMA, we see these guys jump weight classes. McGregor goes to 155. Nunes goes up. DC goes up. You're like, holy shit, look at these guys. Look at their power. The glove enables that, I feel like. So to me, when you have two strikers, it's not as crazy as if you had like two wrestlers where they were like relatively like Gegard Mousasi versus Roy McDonald. It's like,
good example.
They're very similar in skill sets in terms of the overall well-roundedness, but one's just bigger. I know how this is going to go. Same thing with Shevchenko. He fought her 3 times. Those are two strikers too, but you at least seen that one play out. Maybe Thompson goes in there and smokes him. I don't know. But the lack of the power being muted from the gloves at least makes it relevant. I mean, again, I'm not going to – if they make it, great. If they don't, fine. But I'm moderately curious.
Yeah, I'm not at all.
No?
You know what? Thompson's a big dude. I mean, when he fought...
No, he's not small. Yeah.
When he fought Woodley, I think he probably looked bigger. Or maybe not muscular, but just, frame-wise.
Yeah.
And we got Pettis, who not too long ago was fighting Max Holloway at 145. And, granted, he had weight issues and he had a hard time making the cut. But I think he still went in at like 146, 147.
Yeah.
So fighting at 170, I just think it's quite a big bite. And plus, Pettis has been looking great. I feel like, although he's been losing a bit, I feel like his attitude towards fighting changed a bit. And he's now like, this sort of fan favorite. I'll go in there and brawl,
Yep.
And man, lightweight, there's just tons of killers out there. There's tons of fights for him to be in that I think are quite exciting. So stay at 155, man.
Yeah, again, I think it's probably the right call. By the way, wasn't there supposed to be a Justin Gaethje fight, and then that faded?
Yeah.
I mean, that was the fight to make, and I guess they moved on. I don't know what happened, but yeah, I was like all about it. Look,
see, that's a fantastic fight.
Exactly. Like, look, I think the real answer is keeping it at 155. I'm just saying sometimes there can be reasons to think, even with a size disadvantage, somebody could go up, but then, I'm not going to hardcore advocate for it. I want to do a longer version of this, but I woke up Sunday with 1 guest. I go to bed Sunday with 4. So we ended up not managing.
Good interviews, by the
way. Yeah, they're great. I'm not upset about it, but when you've got 8,000 jobs like I do, it's hard to manage.
We could literally do an hour of these questions.
Yeah, I would love to do that. I want to do one all sound off episode. I think that'd be kind of cool. Where we get like video messages recorded and stuff too, and play them. That'd be kind of fun, right?
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, there'll be an MMA beat this week. I guess I'll see you there.
Yep.
And good job with the calls and everything else, and we'll talk.
Thank you.
Thank you, buddy.
I just want to quickly say I got some messages on Twitter. Apparently, I didn't seem too excited when you announced.
Yeah,
we're gonna
boy, you looked like.
Well, I would just say this. First of all, the lighting didn't help because I was like in the shadows.
I was like, Danny, I'm going to be a father. He was like, yes, the robot known as Danny Segura approves.
Also, by nature, I'm very chill. And also, I already knew the news, so it wasn't like a big shock or anything like that. And I didn't know you were going to announce. But I am excited for you.
Thank you, buddy.
Congrats.
Yes,
Nagringuita.
I told Danny a long time ago. I told him right when I knew at the 3-month mark. So, but thank you. You did get torched a little bit for that. It was kind of funny.
I did.
It was all right, though. But yes, he did, in fact, actually know.